Well, it's great to be back in Marion County and here at Sam's Club. I want to thank them for hosting us and joining us here today. We have Florida's First Lady. My wife is back there. And I got the 5-year-old Madison. Wave to everybody. And then we got our 2-year-old Mamie. Wave, Mamie. Say hi to everybody. She's just taking it all in. We also have our Department of Children and Family Secretary, Siobhan Harris, Senate President in Florida, Wilton Simpson, Senators Dennis Baxley and Keith Perry, Representatives Stan McLean and Joe Harding, our Board of Education member, Monisha Brown, who helped do this and works with Walmart. And then we have a number of families here, including, we're going to hear from Kylie Park, who has a husband with four children. So if you look at what's going on with the economy, well, there you go. It's just... So we've been able in Florida to outpace the nation consistently, particularly over the last 2 years. There's a lot of places we're restricting people and costing jobs. We really worked hard to lift people up and protect jobs and protect businesses. And the result is people really had wanted to be in Florida, not only just to work and live, but we set a record for domestic tourism in 2021. We actually beat New York for foreign tourism, which they usually win every year. So you see a lot of that. And we've had we've been better than the national average in unemployment. If you look at our budget, you know, they estimate how much revenue comes in and then you fashion the budget based on that. So the current budget, our current budget ends June 30th. And they forecast whatever the revenue, 101.5 billion is the budget top line. You know, that's actually less than half of New York State's budget. And we have no income tax, but we have better services, roads, better performing K through 12 schools, and the top ranked public university system for 5 years in a row. And so you have that, but what happens is the revenue comes in and they forecast it. If the revenue comes in less, sometimes the legislature's got to come in and make changes to the budget because we have to have a balanced budget. Well, in this case, it's been the total opposite. Every time they forecast the revenue, even though we have no income tax and this low tax, you have massive amounts of revenue coming in because of all the economic activity. So in April alone, we had 750 million just above estimate come into Florida. So by the end of June, when they close the book on this fiscal year, you know, we're going to end the fiscal year most likely with our largest, well, definitely with our largest surplus in the history of Florida. But it's going to probably be over $20 billion. And so we were proud to be willing to stand up to make sure that the state remained vital and was moving ahead. You know, we did not want it to descend in some type of Faucian dystopia. And if you look at what's happened in some of these other places, they've been hollowed out, and a lot of these places have not even gotten back to pre-COVID. We actually have more jobs in Florida than pre-COVID, and there's a lot of places where that hasn't happened yet. So we're happy to do that. We're proud to be good fiscal stewards, but yet, you know, what have you seen over the last 15 months? You've seen the federal government just printing trillions of dollars, spending unimaginable amounts, and you know, they were warned that if you did this you were going to spark inflation. They said no, you won't. Then when we saw it, oh, it's just a blip, and then they said this, and they have all these excuses. The fact of the matter is that we have the worst inflation in this country in over 40 years, and that is something that even as people's wages have gone up, even as they've had opportunities for jobs and all that stuff, that's all good. But if your wages are going up 8% and the cost of everything's going up 10% or 15%, and when they say it's 8.5% increase, that is completely understating what it is for the average American family, because most of the stuff that they count that is not as significant isn't significant to your daily lives. The things that are significant to your daily lives, like fuel, like groceries, utilities, all these things, they're much higher than 8.5% increases. And so that's where we find ourselves having to fight, I think really a federally induced inflationary spiral. We'll see. The U.S. did report report pretty decent job numbers today, but you actually have in Florida, we've got a lot of positions that are unfilled. And so whatever our jobs are, we have the ability to hire more people. So we'll see kind of how that shakes out. But we had a very poor growth, GDP growth number most recently. We'll see how that shakes out. But you have the inflation. Now you have the Fed's going to keep raising interest rates, and it's going to slow down the economy. So there's just a lot of storms on the horizon when you look at what the federal government's done. Now the good news is in Florida, and I hope none of that happens, but it's prudent for us to be planning to be able to handle this if it happens. You remember 2008-9 when you had the downturn. I mean, Florida really got knocked on its knees. You had massive budget holes. I mean, it was a real big problem. In Florida now, if you have a Biden-induced recession, which again, I hope that doesn't happen, but if you do, and we end up having a different revenue forecast, I don't need to change anything. The only thing I need to do is grab some money here from the rainy day fund, plug it in, and we just keep going. Like, we're not going to miss a beat. So that's really what you're supposed to be doing. But we also wanted to figure out what could we do to make an impact to help mitigate the harm that's been caused by this inflationary spiral. And so today I'm going to sign into law HB 7071. This is actually the largest tax relief in the history of the state of Florida, $1.2 billion tax relief package. And now, we're proud we don't have an income tax, but if you had an income tax, you just cut the tax rate. So you got to figure out ways in Florida, what can you do for tax relief, given thankfully we have no income tax? How do you do it to make a difference? So the legislature put together a number of proposals and ended up putting in a really significant thing. So the tax relief you're going to see breaks for really critical needs like gas, diapers, disaster supplies, tools for skilled trades, recreational activities, you name it. And so families are going to be able to save for things that really matter for them. So we're doing diaper, clothes, and shoes for babies and toddlers will be tax-free for 1 year beginning July 1st, 2020. Children's books will be tax-free for 3 months starting May 14th, and that'll go through August 14th, leading right into the school year. So you have an opportunity to save. And then 14-day back-to-school tax holiday will run from July 25th through August 7th. We're doing $200 million in gas tax holiday, so that'll reduce the fuel tax on October 1st by about 25 cents a gallon. You look at the fuel, and I've not seen it under $4 for a long time. I'm seeing $4.20, $4.30 very consistently. Actually, in other parts of the country, they're over $5. Part of it, they have higher gas taxes than we do. But you've not seen any real relief. And to say you're just going to take some from the Strategic Petroleum Reserve, that's a political stunt. That is not going to make up for all the lack of production and everything that the administration has done to try to stop us producing our own energy. And we were energy independent prior to January of 2021. And so we need to get back with that. The thing is there's certain things when you have inflation that you can maybe dial back, certain entertainment, whatever. People can make decisions with their family budget. You really can't just not get around to your job. So you got to fill up your gas tank. These are things that particularly for people that are commuting to work. And so what I think the DC should be doing is they should be unleashing American energy right now, because it would make a difference, and we got to do it. We pride ourselves on being prepared for disasters like hurricanes. We pray we don't get hit with a big one, but you got to prepare and you got to be ready. And so our annual 14-day disaster preparedness tax holiday will run from May 28th through June 10th. So any supplies you need to be able to make sure you have what you need in the event that we do have a significant weather event during hurricane season, you're going to be able to do that tax tax-free. They're also adding, we understand that, yes, having like a generator, having the flashlights, or all the different things that you would need as part of a hurricane preparedness kit is important. But we also want to give people incentive to be able to make improvements on their own property and their own home. So actually, this bill is going to do a 2-year tax holiday for impact-resistant windows, doors, and garage doors, and that starts July 1st. And so if you want to fortify your property, you're going to be able to do that tax-free. You know, some of those things, it's not like you can fortify the property for $50. You know, this is a significant investment, and so the savings will be meaningful, and we encourage Floridians to take advantage of that. We want to help. One of the things we've done in Florida is say, you know, we're proud of our public university system. We don't let them raise tuition because I think it's outrageous how high tuition is in many parts of the country. So you can be a Florida resident, get a Bright Future Scholarship, go to these state universities, and you're not going to have to go $100,000 in debt. We think that's very important. So we're proud of that. But we also know that a 4-year university is not the only way you can be successful. And if you look at the demand right now in our economy for skilled trades, people that have the ability, I mean, Walmart, they just announced they're doing $110,000 for starting salary for new truck drivers. You have a lot of companies in Florida for truck driving, they'll give you a $15,000 signing bonus right off the top. You look at the demand for welding and HVAC and electrical, it's never been higher. These are folks that are going to be able to go really right out of high school if they have the certification, and they can start making a very good living. And the thing is, in a growing state, you have opportunities. If you're in electrical, you can start your own company. It gives pathways for entrepreneurship. And you know, a lot of the younger generation don't really know how to fix things like some of the older generation did. I mean, you know, you go back like my grandparents, they would fix everything around the house themselves. Now, you know, if you have electrical HVAC problem, most people call in. So this just gives more opportunities. And so, you know, we're supportive of that. We've done a lot on vocational education, but what we thought we would be able to do, and this will help people working around their house too, but we did the first time ever 7-day sales tax holiday for tools and home improvement items. So things like power tools, workbooks, work boots, and toolboxes. And so this tax holiday will run from September 3rd to September 9th. So again, if you need stuff around your house, fine. But these folks who are making a living on that are going to be able to save, particularly as they have to buy more and more supplies. We also want to make sure people are able to be energy efficient. So there's going to be a 1-year tax holiday for Energy Star appliances running from July 1st of 2022 all the way till June 30th of next year. So I think that'll be meaningful. And for the second straight year, we are going to have a 7-day tax holiday for what we're calling Freedom Week. It will run from July 1st through July 7th, and it will be tax-free for boating, camping, fishing, outdoor, and sports equipment so that families can afford a fun summer. So we're going to continue to do this. If you want to look to see when these holidays are, you go to floridarevenue.com/sales tax holidays. Again, floridarevenue.com/sales tax holidays. I wanted to be able to give the opportunity for the First Lady, where is she at, to be able to come up. There we go. Now, just so you know, the diaper holiday was the legislator's idea. I wasn't doing it for self-interest, but we are going to be able to take advantage of that in our family.
I would say with Wilton Simpson, this was about 2.5 years a little late, because we have 2.5, I would say we have 1 child in diapers now, but 2.5 years ago, we had 2.5 kids in diapers. This is Mamie's first press conference. She's very excited. I will say this, though. Next time we do a press conference, we're not going to do it next to a playground.
All right. Madison, you want to say anything?
She's out of diapers. It doesn't apply to her.
You don't do the diapers. Okay. All right. Well, I mean, again, when you have prices going up, there's certain things you can cut back on. you got to do the diapers. There's really no way around that, and so I think that'll be helpful for a lot of our families throughout the state of Florida. So, okay, well, we're going to be able to hear from some other folks right now, and so we're going to start with Senator Simpson, and then we'll hear from Secretary Harris, and then we'll hear from Kylie Park.
Thank you, and how about America's Governor, Ron DeSantis? In Florida, unlike so many other states, we don't raise taxes, we cut them. And we cut them often. Year after year, we reduce the tax burden on working families. In the last 10 years, we've cut more than $10 billion of taxes. We spend less than we take in. It's a part of our DNA of a conservative-led government in the free state of Florida. I'm extremely proud of this tax package because it is broad-based and will impact all Floridians, from tools for blue-collar workers to supplies for everyday school children, and we all heard about the diapers for our young families. It's going to lighten the load, particularly in this terrible time of Biden inflation. Thank you, Governor DeSantis and Speaker Sprouse, for all your work in this area, and we're proud to give this relief to working families. Thank you.
Okay, DCF Secretary Siobhan Harris.
Thank you, Governor, for your incredible leadership and always looking for ways to improve the lives of residents of our state. You show us every day that you're putting families first. You can't hear me? Well, all I said was thank you, Governor, for being the best governor ever. I also want to thank all of the legislators who voted for this significant piece of legislation, President Simpson, Speaker Sprouse, and all the legislators here this morning. These tax reductions will have a major impact to families with young children across the state, including the thousands of wonderful foster and adoptive parents who've opened up their homes to children in our care. For the next year, as the governor stated, baby and toddler clothing, shoes, and diapers will be exempt from taxation. Florida is home to more than 1 million children under the age of 5 and welcomes 600 newborns each day. As a mom, I know firsthand how helpful this relief will be. My kids are older now, but I remember all too well those earlier days. They grow so fast, and it seemed like my husband and I were always running to the store buying new clothes and especially diapers. In the first year of a child's life, it is estimated that parents go through approximately 3,000 diapers, or an average of 8 diapers per day. Woo! I also love that children's books will be tax exempt for 3 months because we know the importance of reading to children when it comes to early learning development. This bill also comes at an opportune time as families grapple with the rising cost of everyday expenses like gas, food, and clothing. I know every penny saved counts. Under the First Lady's leadership, the department has implemented Hope Florida, a pathway to prosperity, which is helping thousands of families across the state experiencing hardship. The goal is to help them on an individualized path to economic self-sufficiency. Every day we get calls from parents needing assistance with meeting their kids' basic needs. In addition to the help offered by so many of our community partners through this program, this tax relief will help stretch the dollars even further. There's so many wonderful things about this legislation. I'm so excited for the impact it will have. Thank you.
All right. Okay, we got a great mother here, Kylie Park. Where are you? Hey, buddy, how you doing? Good to see you. Your brother right here? You guys stand right over here.
Go to Daddy.
Hey, buddy.
Governor, First Lady, thank you for the honor of being here today. My name is Kylie. This is my husband, Matthew, and these are our 4 boys, James, Nate, Harrison, and our newest, Ethan, who's 5.5 weeks old.
Oh, wow.
I was asked to share with you what this tax relief package means to my family and me, and how much it's going to help us and other families here in Florida. As you can probably guess, our budget is pretty tight, having 4 little ones, 3 who can eat their weight in snacks, being a stay-at-home mom, and the wife of a first responder. Every penny counts. With rising prices everywhere, we look every trip to the store as a balancing act, trying to figure out what we actually need and what can wait until our next paycheck. With 2 still in diapers, a year-long tax exemption for diapers, clothing, and shoes is huge for us. Add to that the annual back-to-school tax holiday and the gas tax holiday for October, and these savings will be significant for my family. All these savings will translate to our money being spent on things that are important to us, like making memories with our kids. The tax relief will help put money back in the pockets of families just like mine, so we can save for things like our kids' future, and that's the kind of stuff that really matters. So thank you, Governor DeSantis and our legislator, for always looking out for Florida families. This inflation crisis we are currently dealing with affects all of us, and this tax relief package is very needed. So to sum it all up, I can't imagine living anywhere else but right here in the great state of Florida.
Okay, I think it's time to make this official. Does Madison want to be involved? Does anyone, kids, anyone? You guys crowd around. Today is the 5th or the 6th? Oh, the 5th?
It's the 6th.
Today's May 6th? All right. Well, I don't know if the legislators are going to get a pen today because I got a lot of people that maybe I'm sure their parents will just love that I'm giving them a permanent marker. Keep coming? Yeah. Oh, wow. Okay.
We're playing with the pool toys. This is also next to the candy aisle.
All right. All right, who wants one? Who goes?
We're gonna need more
You
pens.
get one for family? Okay, we have more, so we can get some more. Yeah. Thank you. Anyone else? Okay, here we go. All right, Madison, you want to give one away to one of your friends? Give one away to one of the kids. Oh, good job. All right. And we do have more pens. I'm going to sneak right over here. We have more. Where's the bag of the pens?
There's a little guy right here. He's so patient.
Okay. Do we have more? Have them bring more pens. So we're going to bring more. I got them coming. I made the call. So we're going to do it. Yeah, we got to give everyone. I saw they had the big bag of them. Okay, here we go. All right, here you go. There you go. Who else? All right, we got more coming, right? Here you go. Okay, here you go. All right.
We're gonna get more.
All right.
If you need it, you good?
Who else?
Anyone
else?
So sweet.
Anybody else? Who else? All right. Good deal. I think everyone got one. Okay. All right. All right. Who wants one? Here.
Let me just say this. We just handed out permanent markers to 5-year-olds. It's a little problematic.
And we have had to deal with that where Madison's marking up Mason, and it's you got a lot of scrubbing to do. But we're excited about this. We're also excited about a lot of the other stuff that we've been able to accomplish. If you look at this most recent legislative session, a lot of wins. There's things actually I talk to people about they don't even realize. We actually did great reform of higher education this year. We did. I think we're one of the first states. We now have all tenured professors must have a 5-year performance review every 5 years. And this is something that's really good. We also understood all the problems around the country with criminal activity because these areas have defunded or cut funding for police. They have prosecutors who will not enforce the law. They have weak policies like no cash bail, and they put dangerous people right back on the street. We reject all of that in Florida, and in fact, we signed last year legislation prohibiting local governments from defunding police, but we also this year did a bill to help us recruit people people from other parts of the country. So anybody that comes to Florida who's qualified to fill a position, municipal, county, or state law enforcement, you get a $5,000 signing bonus. And so people are really excited about that. And they are absolutely flooding. Applications are starting to flood into some of these people. I was talking to some police chiefs, so yeah, we got a bunch of people because they know in Florida the community is going to support them, the governor is going to support them, and we understand how vital it is that obviously you get some money. That's not a bad thing. We also are very proud of really leading the effort in the country to make sure that our school system is for education, not for indoctrination. And that involves things like making sure every parent in Florida has the right to access the curriculum that's being used in their kid's school. You know, the left fought us on that, and I'm thinking to myself, why would you want to shut parents out and not give them access? Very significant. We also made sure that we're going to follow Florida standards. We're not going to let them inject ideology into things like math books. Right. So the Florida Department of Education flagged a lot of this, sent it back to the publishers. You know, a lot of the media was like crying, like saying they're like, oh, you know, you're banning these. No, we're not banning them. We're gonna do textbooks that suit our thing. But what happened is these textbook companies had to take the nonsense out of the math books, and so now they're resubmitting it. That's math. You know, 2 + 2 = 4. It's not 2 + 2 and let's have a struggle session over that. That's just not what we want in Florida. We want to make sure that we're focusing on teaching kids to get the right answer and not being diverted by ideologies and other type of stuff that really isn't pertinent in any of this. And then obviously we believe, you know, parents have the right to send their kids to like kindergarten without having a lot of this sexual content injected into the curriculum. And you know, I think parents overwhelmingly agree with that. There's one company that's headquartered in Burbank, California that didn't agree with that. And, you know, at the end of the day, we run this state. They do not run this state. So we're going to do what's right for parents. And we also said, okay, you can say whatever you want, but it's not the responsibility of Florida citizens to subsidize your corporate speech. And so the legislature did the first kind of first act of this with saying, you know what, the special government, we're not going to let that happen with one company having their own government. So what I can tell you for sure is, you know, we already are working on what we need to do for this and some other of these districts. But at the end of the day, Disney is not going to have its own government in Florida. Disney is going to have to live under the same laws that everybody else lives under in Florida. Disney will pay its fair share of taxes, and Disney is going to be responsible for all the debt it has racked up. That will happen. So anyone that tells you differently is not being honest about it. So we look forward to be able to outline those proposals in the coming weeks and months. And at the end of the day, we've got a lot of momentum, a lot of great stuff happening in the state. But I think we've done more than any other state to step up against the Biden-inflation headwinds, to give relief to our citizens, and we're going to keep on doing that. So thank you all. God bless everybody.
So who caught it? The big story all across this country has been what? Of course, the leak out of the Supreme Court. And the governor didn't have to say a word about it. But boy, did he make a statement about it. Look at all of the children everywhere of all ages. All of the mothers who made the right, proper, good, decent Christian decision. He didn't have to say a word about it to give Florida's answer. And there was even a second scripture in play. Who remembers the story in the Bible about putting back for the 7 years a famine when the 7 years of plenty came. There were 7 years of plenty, and they stocked away and they stocked away and they saved and saved. So when the 7 years of famine came, they were ready. Florida's going to be ready. Many people don't understand that concept. So twice, without actually saying it, the governor over the last 30 to 45 minutes, without actually quoting chapter and verse, lifted up biblical principles without actually having to say a word, just by his actions. You see, this is how you know Governor DeSantis is genuine. A lot of people said, "Oh, I don't have my trust in any man." When you can see biblical principles just exude that way, without anybody preaching or waggling a finger or even quoting a scripture, that tells you what the man's about. Having his children there, having all those other children there. They had a kid behind. That mother that was standing behind and to the right of Governor DeSantis, or from our perspective, behind and to the left, with that little boy for that long, that woman deserves a medal. I wouldn't have lasted, when I was that age, I wouldn't have lasted more than a minute being held by my mom. So, especially with all that boring stuff to kids that age going on. So while everybody likes to dig down deep and try to find something negative about Florida, I'm telling you right now, the positives far, far outweigh any negatives. Whether they talk about the property insurance thing or the cost of living, there are some areas of Florida that are a little crowded and sometimes the traffic can be bad. But you've got to do your homework. You've got to do your homework. To see him speak, to see his wife speak, and to see them do it together eloquently, off the cuff. They weren't reading script. There were no teleprompters. I made the allegation before, Camelot has returned. This is historic. This is absolutely one of the most historic events that has occurred in my lifetime, perhaps in 2 centuries. Not kidding. This is Abraham Lincoln level stuff. What's going on in Florida right now? The contrast between Joe Biden and Kamala Harris and what's going on with that mentally ill group of people versus what's happening here in the new free republic of Florida is striking. How different, how unbelievably 180 degrees opposite, diametrically opposed it is. What's going on in Florida right now is beyond anything that was even hoped for when Trump took office. And I say that confidently. What has transpired in the last year and a half in this state has been nothing short of historic. And if anyone other than violent, vehement liberals get a hold of history books and they start to write it, they will record this. They will record this was the moment. 2021, 2022, America fell apart, but one state became its own sovereign republic and has honored the vision of our founding fathers, of how we were supposed to live, how we were supposed to govern ourselves. The governor's never mentioned it, but I'm going to say it right here, and I'm going to go on record saying it right here. If it meant not paying federal taxes, I believe the vast majority of Floridians would sign up for a Florida tax. a Florida Republic tax. If it meant they were no longer having to pay to Washington, D.C., they would absolutely patriotically pay to Tallahassee. If we got on paper de jure in law our sovereign status, absolutely would. They wouldn't think about it for 1 minute. But look what we've been able to do without a state income tax. Tens of billions of dollars. Not in an emergency fund. We have emergency funds financed. We have rainy day funds financed. We have money set aside for hurricanes. Over and above all of that, 10, 15, 20 billion dollars with no state income tax. You see, that was originally, a lot of people can't really wrap their mind around that, and it would be hard for me to as well, given how long people have had no trust and disdain and disgust for Washington, D.C. in this country. It was supposed to be something people did patriotically. That people got together because they really believed in their leaders. And this is the first time I've seen it in my lifetime. I heard about it with the Kennedys. I was not born yet when all that happened with JFK. But people talked about how much they respected that man, how much they looked up to that man, how much that man inspired everyone. I've not seen a leader, not even Reagan, really. I've not seen a leader inspire so many people in my lifetime, in half a century. It's truly an amazing thing to be a part of, an amazing thing to witness, that everywhere he goes. You notice there are no protests. You would think with the full court press from Washington, D.C., and with social media all being against this guy, that somewhere there would be these giant anti-DeSantis protests. I defy anyone to go find any video of it or pictures of it. Please, show me. I would love to see it. I would love somebody to show me anywhere in Florida where you see an Antifa protest, where you see a BLM protest, where you might start to see some of this whole pro-murder, baby murder thing for a minute in a few places. But down here, we don't have trigger laws. In fact, we just passed a law, 15-week law about a month ago. But a lot of places do have trigger laws for when they overturn it. And it's one of those weird subjects that they've been talking about on Twitter. People saying, well, then if you're going to say that life begins at conception, is that when child support should begin? Personally, I think child support should begin pre-insemination. Let me say that again. Personally, I believe child support should begin pre-insemination. Now, what does that mean? That means that ladies, young ladies, women, should start using a different calculus before they start entering into romantic family-style activities with young men. That they need to stop looking at how pretty his eyes are or how cool his truck is. And they need to start looking at, has he got a future? Can he pay a bill? Can he handle an expense? What are his priorities? You see, that used to be the case. You see, the parents used to do that before they even allowed their daughters to go run around with boys. So I'm super duper, those of you who think you're old school, I'm like super old school. I believe that child support should begin pre-insemination. That's my position on it. So I'm not even a giant fan of the 15-week law. You see, Doc Strange said anybody can create a life. That's true. It takes to hang around. You see, hang around for the remainder. But I tell you what, it's terminology like that sometimes that makes me hearken back to when, if a man didn't do his duty to his wife and his children, he was ostracized from society. And that's something I think another time. I'm glad that actually, Doc Strange, thank you for making that comment, because it allows me to segue into something else. Women who are pro-choice need to be ostracized from society. Guys, if you're in a relationship with a woman and she says she's that, pay the bill. If you've given her a ring, tell her it's a gift and walk away. And be thankful you found out before she got pregnant. And make sure you take notes. Keep a picture of her. Show a picture of her to every guy you know. Show a picture of her to every guy you know. And say, she'll kill your children. She'll kill your children. She'll kill your children. And let every guy you know this. That's my advice to men. If I had sons, that would be my advice to them. We need to start using the power of the original social media. Who remembers the original social media? Word of mouth. Who remembers getting a reputation? I know I have a lot of people in my audience that are my age and older. In school, in your communities, people talked. People put their heads together. They didn't need Facebook. They didn't need Twitter. They didn't need Instagram. Guys knew the girls to stay away from. Girls knew the guys to stay away from. People got reputations, and people adjusted their behaviors to not get reputations. So, this can be done. Zilren Rocha, what a long trip it's been. When I started junior high school, we could only wear pants if it was below zero. Well, yep. Honestly, looking back now at the 80s when I was in school, and how much distraction was created from those teeny tiny little denim miniskirts and those super duper duper tight jeans. If I were an adult in that era, I would have probably said, look, maybe there needs to be an adjustment here. But because it was a giant distraction. It was totally unnecessary for school. But then you think back, maybe it made more sense at that age, at those ages, to have girls over here and young men over here, so that during school hours they can focus on the schoolwork. Now, whatever they want to do, whatever, that's fine. Sadie Hawkins dance, all that kind of stuff, whatever. But I tell you what, you look at some of the habits and some of the plans and some of the things that were done by our grandparents, our great-grandparents. It makes sense now when you look at it with what's going on right now. It really does. If the focus of school is to educate, then take away all the distractions. And that's what we're doing with the books. Here in Florida, we're taking away all the social consciousness nonsense. And we're sticking with 2 + 2 = 4. Shirts tucked in. Yeah, I tell you what, 70s, 80s really kind of let that go. And there were some different styles that came out that you could look appropriate and not that, but you see, I love guys like Derek Robinson. See, Derek Robinson just actually helped me segue into psychological operations. Derek Robinson just committed a logical fallacy. It's called slippery slope. Because I want to say that perhaps when kids have a problem, when they start to go through puberty, maybe taking a problem away from them while they're in school, of course, that means it's going back all the way to the Middle Ages. And I'm a Christian white supremacist. You see, that's called slippery slope. That's called slippery slope fallacy. That if you move in any one direction, automatically it means going way, 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 way over to the point of ridiculousness. It's also called reductio ad absurdum. For those of you who are familiar with the Big Bang Theory, the Sheldon character talked about reductio ad absurdum. It's the idea of taking an argument and reducing it to its base elements to make it sound absurd. It's kind of funny, that sometimes those who show up who want to make you look bad can actually give you an opportunity to teach. Derek Robinson. And if you want to talk about the actual Middle Ages, in the Middle Ages, what you believe to be Christian white supremacy didn't exist. There wasn't even the Protestant church in the Middle Ages. There was just Catholicism in the Middle Ages. In the Middle Ages, the church was government. So, keep knocking them over the fence and I'll keep, or keep tossing them to me and I'll keep knocking them over the fence. Thank you, Doc. I very much appreciate that. Anybody else want to take a turn? Sorry, I just had to chew a little ice there. Oh, here we go. Looks like one here. Let's see. You're yay for support enforcement agencies and attorneys getting warrants, orders, and garnishments. Many Dodger deadbeat dads and some moms put burdens on taxpayers to pay for their kids' care. Yeah, unfortunately, that's a very leftist thing. See, instead of doing the hard thing, which would mean finding whoever made the kids and make that person accountable, they say, oh, just run to our government program provided by the Democrats. And don't worry about dad. Just, dad's a deadbeat because, of course, men are deadbeats. You see, that was the original subtext to all those programs. All those social programs to take care of single moms were meant to excuse men being deadbeats so that the feminists could have their way. See, that's what feminists wanted. Feminists wanted men to become second-class, subservient citizens. What happens when you take away the accountability and you stop holding up a standard for men? That's exactly what happens. That's why men, quote unquote, have no say in the abortion debate because it's a woman's body. Forget how the child got there. That's irrelevant. That's just second-class, subservient men, just being irresponsible. That's what you're all supposed to believe. See, that's the subtext to all of that. Let's see, Doc Strange. Those old-fashioned values and principles taught by our parents and grandparents are still wholesome values and principles that need to be taught to future generations and should be a prerequisite. Absolutely. But the second part of that, Doc, is that there was a reason behind why they did what they did back then. It wasn't just something that, well, the guy up on the pulpit at church said I should do it, so I'm just going to do it because we do what the church says. That's not why they did it. They realized, hey, wait a minute. If we don't do something like this could get out of hand. And it has gotten out of hand, hasn't it? Look at what happened with divorce rates. Look at all the single moms. Look at all the problems in the inner cities. See, back then they said, we need to make men believe they're going to be held accountable. And we need to start teaching our daughters to not just look to Romeo and Juliet and Shakespeare for their guidance on how to pick a man. Or daytime TV, or what's that channel out there that they have with all of the sappy romantic movies. And there's I can't remember the name of it. There's like a cable channel out there that has all of these romantic stories and movies, and it's all pretty much the same plot over and over again, and I can't remember it. But you can't have your daughters looking to those things. Lifetime and there's another one too. Hallmark, yeah, Lifetime, Hallmark, yeah, that's what it is. Oh, it's just horrible. It's absolutely horrible. Oxygen, Harlequin, right? These are the things that, and this goes the other way too. Men have to start teaching young men the proper way to handle life when it comes to women. That you can't look to pornography. You can't look to Hollywood's movies. You can't look to Disney. You can't look to all that stuff to make a decision about who you do or won't want to be with. You need to ask some hard questions. It's not a first date question, obviously. First date, you shouldn't be thinking about having a baby with a girl or doing things that could cause a baby with a girl on the first date. There's a process. There's a process. And usually, way back in the 50s and 40s and 30s, it was a family process. You knew that if you messed up, everybody was going to know about it. Cousins and everybody from church. And, so you held yourself to a higher standard. This random Tinder culture is terrible. This idea of just meeting random person for one random moment. And it's literally, when you look back at it, it's really less about morality than it is about sociology. It truly is, and I know a lot of people are going to disagree with me on this, but the idea of Roe v. Wade being overturned and states banning abortion, guys, that's socialism. That's the height of it. That is absolutely the height of socialism. Christian socialists would have been very proud from back in the 1800s at society taking control of that and banning certain procedures because they see them as aberrant or they see them as morally repugnant. That was the goal of the Christian socialist. And there was just a woman in Honduras, I believe it was Honduras or El Salvador in South America. Now this, all of you folks that think, all of these invaders from south of Latin America are coming to ruin our country. Guys, the governor of Florida yesterday was in Hialeah for the National Day of Prayer. Hialeah, Florida is 90% Hispanic. They are some of the most socially conservative people that you have ever met on the planet. The vast majority of them. Honduras, El Salvador. A woman did 10 years in prison for having an abortion. 10 years in prison. That's where they are. That's where they are on abortion in Latin America, in South America, the vast majority of South America. It is just now being put before the courts to allow it in any case of even an emergency, life of the mother, the rape, incest, the whole bit. It is just now going before the courts in 2022. You see, they're in 2022, just beginning to where we were in the late 60s, early 70s. As far as that level of social conservatism goes. And even not in most areas. most areas of South America, Latin America, the concept of it is seen as horrible. I mean, it's on par with child molestation. It's right on par with it. It's murder, abortion, child molestation. That's what it's talked about in the context of. So it was a really wonderful thing the governor did today, the way that he organized it, talking about a tax holiday and including the diapers and the things for kids and bringing in all the children and all of the mothers and even his own kids and his wife and family. This was definitely an indication, a signal about where Florida stands on this whole thing with Roe v. Wade without even having to say it. And this is really how you can tell. And I'll say this again, I said it before, but I'll reiterate the point. The man didn't have to grab a Bible and thump it. He didn't have to preach. He didn't even have to quote a scripture to bring to mind scriptures from the Bible and stories from the Bible. I'm going to paraphrase here, and I apologize for doing it. The kingdom of heaven is such as these. Suffer not the little children to come unto me, for the kingdom of heaven is such as these. I hope I got that right. And then, of course, the story of Joseph. The 7 years of famine that was foretold. The 7 years of plenty for preparation. That's exactly what when he talks about the revenue coming into Florida and the surplus and the saving of the money, that's exactly what this is when he talks about in the context of the coming Biden recession. So, and I guess I'll leave with the very first command. What was God's, once mankind was put out of the garden, what was his first command to Adam and Eve and Seth? What was the first command? Go forth, be fruitful, and multiply. Now, in modern context, that means go out, be good stewards financially, save, and make babies. So I'm getting out of here too, Doc. So God bless. Thank you guys for hanging out. I very much appreciate it. We'll have a lot more to talk about this coming weeks for sure, because this is truly a historic moment in our country's history and even world history. I'll leave it there. God bless. Like, share, subscribe. Join us on Patreon if you can. I very much appreciate it. We'll see you guys next time.